Sandy lay still for a moment, one hand resting on her stomach, the other on the empty space beside her. She did not miss her husband in sharp ways anymore. There were no sudden gasps of grief, no ambushes in the grocery store aisle. What remained was more like weather, a low system that rolled through occasionally, predictable and manageable. She loved him. She had loved the life they built. And still, sometimes, she wondered when exactly she had stepped so fully into being useful that she had stopped being curious. At 60, Sandy had done nearly everything right. She had been a good wife, a steady mother, the kind of woman people trusted with keys and secrets and casseroles. She remembered birthdays, returned library books on time, and knew how to keep her opinions gentle enough to be palatable. And now, here she was. The children were grown and scattered, one in Oregon, one in Colorado. They called often enough to be loving, but not so often that she mistook herself for necessary. They had lives, and she was proud of them for it. Still, pride did not fill an afternoon. Sandy swung her legs out of bed and shuffled into the kitchen, where the coffee maker waited like an old friend who knew better than to speak too early. She poured water into the reservoir, measured the grounds by feel, and stood at the window while it brewed. Outside, the mountains were beginning to take shape, blue and patient against the lightening sky. Pine Creek sat cradled among them, a town with one main road, 2 churches, and more history than ambition. It was the kind of place people either escaped from or never thought to leave. Sandy had stayed. She had told herself for years that this was what commitment looked like, that wanting more was indulgent, that dreams were for younger people with fewer obligations. Now, standing in her slippers with coffee warming her hands, she allowed herself a thought she had been circling for months. I never followed any of my dreams. The thought did not feel dramatic. It felt factual, like noting the time or the weather. She had dreamed once of traveling, of learning languages, of standing in places she could not yet name. She had imagined herself bold in ways that surprised even her. Somewhere along the way, those dreams had been folded neatly and placed on a high shelf where they gathered dust, but never quite disappeared. Lately, she found herself staring at maps. Watching travel shows she did not bother recording because she was always awake when they aired. She imagined packing the car, selling the house, driving until the landscape forgot her name. The idea thrilled and terrified her. But when she followed the thought all the way through, past the romance of leaving, she found something hollow at the end of it. Running did not feel like adventure. It felt like another way of avoiding herself. Sandy sipped her coffee and watched the town wake up. The bakery lights clicked on down the street. Mrs. Kincaid's dog began its daily argument with the fence. A pickup truck rumbled past, carrying someone who knew exactly where they were going. She realized then that maybe the question was not whether she would leave. Maybe the question was whether she could learn to stand right here with more honesty than she ever had before. The thought settled into her like a stone dropped gently into water. Sandy did not know yet what that would look like. She only knew that something in her was done shrinking, done deferring, done waiting for permission that was never coming. She rinsed her mug, set it upside down on the counter, and smiled at her reflection in the darkened window. "Well," she said softly, testing the sound of her own voice in the quiet house, "let's see what we can do." She did not know yet what that would look like. She only knew that something in her was done shrinking, done deferring, done waiting for permission that was never coming. That morning, she drove to the hardware store for no particular reason. She wandered the aisles slowly, touching things she did not need. When a young man asked if she needed help, she surprised herself by saying no with confidence instead of apology. It was a small thing, hardly worth noting. And yet, she noticed. In Pine Creek, everyone knew Sandy as agreeable, reliable, nice. People were fond of her in the way one is fond of furniture that has always been there. Comfortable, unremarkable. She began to wonder what it would be like to be known for something else. The opportunity came sooner than she expected, disguised as inconvenience. At the next town meeting, the council proposed cutting hours at the library to save money. It was presented as a minor adjustment, already half decided. Laura sat in the folding chair she had occupied for years, listening to familiar voices circle familiar arguments. She felt it then, that tightening in her chest she usually ignored. The library had been her refuge, the place she took the children on Saturdays, the place she went after her husband died, when silence at home felt too loud. She had never spoken at a meeting before, never raised her hand, never imagined that her voice would matter in a room like this. Her heart beat faster. She raised her hand anyway. When the chair recognized her, there was a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Laura stood slowly, aware of the sound of the chair legs scraping the floor. Her hands trembled, but her voice, when it came, was steady. She spoke plainly, about the library as more than a budget line, about children and elders and afternoons that needed somewhere to land. She did not perform. She did not plead. She simply told the truth as she knew it. When she sat down, her knees felt weak. Her face was warm. Nothing dramatic happened. The vote was tabled. A committee was formed. The meeting moved on. But something inside Sandy shifted. On her walk home, the air felt sharper, more vivid. She realized she was smiling. After that, the changes came quietly. She signed up to teach a basic writing class at the community center, something she had once dreamed of doing someday. She volunteered to coordinate rides for seniors who no longer drove. She corrected people gently when they talked over her. Each act was small. None of them would make a good story at a dinner party. And yet, together, they began to form a life that felt sturdier, more inhabited. She discovered that respect did not arrive all at once. It accumulated. Like interest, travel still called to her. Instead of ignoring it or romanticizing it, she negotiated with it. She took short trips, 2 days here, 3 days there. A train ride to Spokane, a flight to Santa Fe she had always wanted to see. She stayed in modest places and walked until her feet ached. She noticed everything. The way strangers met her eyes, the pleasure of being anonymous, the way her body moved differently when no one expected anything of her. And then she came home. Each time, Pine Creek looked a little different. Not bigger, not better, just more detailed. Like a painting she was finally standing close enough to see. She realized then that adventure was not distance. It was attention. That insight followed her everywhere. She found herself lingering in conversations instead of rushing through them, asking questions she had once thought impolite, saying no when yes would have been easier. Sometimes she still wondered what her life might have been if she had left earlier, if she had been braver sooner. But regret, she learned, was not the same as grief, and it did not require punishment. On an evening in late summer, Sandy sat on her porch as the light softened and the town settled into itself. The air smelled like cut grass and coming cold. She listened to the distant sound of laughter drifting from somewhere down the block. She felt no urge to pack, no urgency to escape. What she felt instead was something quieter and stronger. Ownership. This life, ordinary, constrained, unfinished, was hers, not as a consolation prize, but as a deliberate choice. She had not reinvented herself. She had not become extraordinary. She had not left Pine Creek behind. She had simply stepped fully into the space she occupied. Sandy stood, stretched her stiff knees, and went inside as the porch light clicked on behind her. Tomorrow would be another small day, and she would meet it, awake, attentive, and entirely her own.